Smoke still hung in the air days after the fire at Westbridge High. The building was gone, reduced to blackened steel and ash. But the story was just beginning. Detective Harris stood near the ruins, the smell of wet soot heavy in the air, staring at the words Lena had left behind. Part 3 is their confession. He'd read that message 100 times, but he still didn't understand. Was Lena demanding one, or planning to take one herself? Across town, the media had turned her into a ghost. Some called her a terrorist, others a hero, but nobody could find her. And then, just when the case seemed frozen, another package arrived at the station. No return address, just a wax seal in the shape of the Black Wings. Inside was a USB drive and a list of 10 names. All adults, all connected to the school board. The note attached said only one thing. They knew. Before we dive in, don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and tell me in the comments section where you are watching from. Now let's begin. Harris gathered his team in the dim conference room. The projector flickered to life as he plugged in the drive. It began with another of Lena's recordings. She looked thinner now, her voice quieter, but her eyes sharper than ever. The fire was never the end, she said. You think you've seen what this school did to me, but what they did to others makes my pain look small. They knew. They watched. And they chose silence. The video cut to hidden footage, old security tapes from the board office. Administrators shredding documents, falsifying reports, signing off on settlements for bullied students whose parents had sued. All covered up. Every signature matched one of the names on the list. One clip showed the superintendent himself sitting in his office, whispering into the phone. If she uploads that footage, we're finished. Shut it down. Permanently. Harris froze. The timestamp on that clip was from 3 days before the fire. He realized then they'd try to stop her. But instead, they'd pushed her to finish what she'd started. Over the next 48 hours, chaos swept through Westbridge. 4 board members resigned. 2 were arrested. The town turned against its leaders. And every time the news tried to spin it, another piece of footage surfaced online, always with Lena's symbol. She was controlling the story, even from hiding. Harris was torn between admiration and fear. Late one night, he sat alone in his car, reviewing her files again. There was something methodical about them. Too perfect. Every leak timed. Every drop designed for maximum impact. She wasn't improvising, she was following a plan. And as he scanned through one of the folders, he found a file labeled Confession_01. He hesitated, then opened it. The video wasn't of Lena. It was of Alyssa Green. She was sitting in what looked like a storage room, mascara smeared, eyes swollen from crying. I'm sorry, she said softly. I didn't know it would go this far. We just wanted her to stop. We never meant for her to burn it all down. Her voice cracked. She told me she had proof about the teachers, about the cameras. I didn't believe her. I thought she was lying. So we made the video. She stopped. Her head turned toward someone off camera. You said you weren't recording. The screen cut to static. Harris leaned back, stunned. This wasn't an old video. It was new. Lena had found Alyssa, and she was making her confess. The next morning, Alyssa was reported missing. Her car found abandoned by the river. No signs of struggle, no footprints, just her phone still recording. On the last frame, the camera caught something faintly glowing on the ground beside the water. The silver wing emblem, painted in chalk. Now the town was terrified. Rumors spread faster than the police could contain them. People said Lena was hunting those who covered up the truth. Others claimed she'd formed a group of students, the Black Wings. They called them releasing the confessions one by one. By nightfall, Harris's phone buzzed with an unknown number. A video link. He clicked it. Lena appeared again, this time in a dark warehouse lit by a single hanging bulb. Her voice was colder now. You wanted confessions, she said. Now you'll hear them all. She stepped aside, revealing a man tied to a chair, the principal, Mr. Langford. His face bruised, eyes wide with panic. They made me delete the reports, he cried. It wasn't me, I followed orders. Lena's shadow moved across the floor. And how many kids did you watch suffer? She asked. He didn't answer. She leaned closer. Say it. He broke down sobbing. All of them. I knew what they were doing. Lena looked straight at the camera again. The truth always finds its voice. Then she walked away, leaving the man trembling in the dark. The video ended, but attached to it was a second file, a map. Coordinates leading to the old factory on the outskirts of town. Harris and Vega arrived before sunrise. The building was abandoned, windows shattered, walls covered in graffiti. But in the main room, they found rows of chairs and a projector screen, still running. The same video looped endlessly, the principal's confession. On a nearby table lay another letter addressed to Harris. You can't stop the truth, but you can help it be heard. Underneath was a small recording device. When he pressed play, Lena's voice came through closer, softer, almost whispering in his ear. I know you think I'm a criminal, but what I've done isn't revenge. It's revelation. You can destroy evidence, silence victims, rewrite history, but truth doesn't die. It waits. Harris looked around the empty room, the hum of the projector echoing off the walls. Where are you, Lena? He muttered. And then his phone buzzed again. A live notification. A video stream titled, Final Confession Live Now. The thumbnail showed the Westbridge Police Department. He ran outside, jumped into his car, lights flashing through the rain. The live video showed the front of the station, his station. And standing there, in the glow of the red-blue sirens, was Lena Moore. She was holding a phone in one hand and a lighter in the other. Her voice came through the car radio, broadcast through every device in town. They wanted confessions, so I brought mine. She looked directly into the camera, eyes calm, fearless. My name is Lena Moore. I was bullied for being different. But the truth I carry isn't just mine anymore. She flicked the lighter. It belongs to everyone they tried to silence. Before Harris could reach her, the screen glitched. The live feed pixelated, then went black. The only thing that remained was her voice, faint, distorted, echoing. You can't stop what's already begun. And then another timer appeared on every phone, every monitor in the city. 72 hours, counting down. Harris stared at the screen, breath catching in his chest. What the hell is she planning now? Somewhere out there, in the rain and shadows, Lena Moore had vanished again. But this time, she wasn't just after a school. She was after everyone who built the system that let it happen. The countdown spread like wildfire. 72 hours. Every phone, every screen, every public display across the city flashed with the same numbers: 72 hours, 71 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds, ticking down in perfect sync. No one could trace it. Not the FBI. Not the cyber division. Every signal pointed to nowhere. Every attempt to block it failed. But there was one thing that terrified everyone more than the clock itself: the black wings watermark that appeared faintly behind it. Lena Moore's symbol. Detective Harris hadn't slept in 3 days. His face was pale, eyes bloodshot from staring at screens, replaying every video, every word Lena had ever said. The truth doesn't die. It waits. Those words haunted him. He'd seen what her truth had done: one school burned, reputations destroyed, lives shattered. But this countdown, this was bigger. He knew she wasn't aiming at Westbridge anymore. She was aiming at everything that let it happen. Day 1 of the countdown, videos began to drop hourly. Hidden recordings from schools across the state. Abuse covered up. Students ignored. Parents silenced. Every clip bore Lena's symbol. Each release more damning than the last. Teachers who bullied, coaches who blackmailed, principals who falsified records. It was no longer one story, it was an entire system being torn open. By the second night, the news networks turned off their usual programming. Every channel was talking about her. Protesters filled the streets holding signs with her symbol. Some called her a terrorist. Others called her a prophet. The world didn't agree on who Lena Moore was, but they all watched her clock tick toward zero. On the third morning, a live feed appeared on every device. No announcement. No warning. Just Lena's voice. Calm. Controlled. You've seen the evidence. You've seen the faces. You've seen the truth. The camera turned on. She stood in a dark, empty auditorium, the one that used to belong to Westbridge High before it burned. The walls were scorched, but behind her hung a single banner that had somehow survived the fire. Westbridge, building tomorrow's leaders. Lena stared into the lens. You wanted a confession. Here's mine. She took a deep breath. I didn't set the fire to destroy the school. I set it to erase what they built on top of our pain. They built a system that punishes the quiet, the different, the honest, and rewards the ones who hide behind smiles. She held up her silver locket, the one she always wore. Inside this is everything they tried to bury. The names, the files, the proof. She paused. And before this clock hits zero, the whole world will see it. Detective Harris leaned forward, watching the live feed from the command center. Where is she broadcasting from? He barked. Tech officers scrambled across multiple screens, tracing the feed's IP. Sir, it's local. Within 5 miles. Harris grabbed his jacket. Then we're ending this now. The storm hit as he drove through the city, sirens echoing in the distance. The rain poured so hard it blurred the roads into rivers of silver. And through the static of the police radio, Lena's voice kept repeating her live message looping across every channel. I didn't want revenge, she said softly. I wanted remembrance. He followed the signal to the old broadcast tower on Ridge Hill, the one the school district used decades ago. The gate was broken, the ground soaked with mud and footprints. Inside, the tower's control room glowed faint blue from the monitor light. And there she was, Lena Moore. She stood before the console, hood down, soaked from the rain, her silver locket resting against her chest. Her eyes looked older now, tired, but still burning with purpose. Lena, Harris said quietly, lowering his gun. It doesn't have to end like this. She didn't turn. It already did, she whispered. The day I stopped being human to them. The world's watching, he said. They'll listen now. You've already won. Lena finally turned to face him. Her face was streaked with rain and tears. Won? She asked. No, detective. You don't win when you survive people like them. You just learn how to show the world what survival looks like. The countdown on the monitor behind her ticked to 10 minutes. Harris stepped closer. What happens when it hits 0? She hesitated. Freedom. He saw it, then the small transmitter connected to the tower's servers. Whatever she had planned, it was already in motion. Lena, if you do this, there's no going back. She looked up at him, her voice calm, final. There's never been a back to go to. The clock hit 1 minute. He took another step. Please, tell me what you did. She smiled sadly. I didn't do anything. They did. All I did was hit upload. The monitor flashed. Global connection established. Files transferring. The servers began to hum like thunder. Screens across the world lit up. Millions of confidential files from schools, companies, and state offices pouring online. This isn't about Westbridge anymore, she said. This is about everyone who thought silence was protection. Harris shouted, You'll destroy lives. Lena looked straight at him. So did they. The countdown reached 5 seconds. She pressed her hand against the console, the silver locket clutched tight. The camera feed zoomed closer, her face filling the screen. This is my truth. My confession. Then the tower lights flickered. The clock hit 0. The feed cut. For a moment, nothing. Silence. Then the world erupted. Every screen, phones, TVs, billboards flashed with the symbol of the Black Wings. And behind it, thousands of names appeared. Teachers, officials, CEOs, politicians. The ones who'd ignored, abused, or silenced the innocent. The truth had gone global. But when the police stormed the tower minutes later, Lena was gone. The room was empty. The transmitter still running. And on the chair where she'd been sitting, they found her silver locket open. Inside was a microchip. Empty. No trace of her body. No footprints leading away. Nothing. Detective Harris stared out through the broken window, the storm still raging. She vanished, he whispered. Like she was never real. That night, the world trembled under the weight of what she'd unleashed. Millions protested. Systems fell. Names disappeared from government websites. People called it the Black Wing Revelation. And though the files kept surfacing, no one ever saw Lena again. Weeks later, Harris sat in his car outside what remained of Westbridge High, now a fenced-off memorial site. Someone had painted her symbol on the ruins again, black wings stretched across the charred wall. He sighed, running his hand through his hair. You got what you wanted, he murmured. But just then his phone buzzed. A new message. No number. No contact name. Just a video file. He pressed play. The screen flickered, and there she was. Lena Moore. Standing on a city rooftop at night. Wind in her hair, the skyline glowing behind her. She smiled faintly. Did you really think truth ends when it's told? She said softly. It only changes hands. She stepped back into the shadows. You were right, detective. There's no going back. The screen glitched once more. Then new text appeared, glowing faintly white against black. Phase 2, rebuilding the system. 00:72:00 countdown resumed. Harris froze, staring at the screen as the timer began again. And faintly, through the static, came Lena's voice, gentle, certain, and hauntingly calm. The clock began again. 72 hours. But this time, the world didn't panic. This time, the world listened. Lena Moore had vanished into myth, but her truth hadn't. The Blackwing Files, as the press called them, had exposed decades of hidden abuse, systemic neglect, and institutional cruelty across schools, corporations, and government agencies. It was the kind of truth no one could bury again. Protests turned into reform movements. Whistleblowers came forward. And across cities and countries, people began to draw her symbol, the black wings, on walls, notebooks, and phone cases. It wasn't rebellion anymore. It was remembrance. But for Detective Harris, there was no peace. He couldn't let go. He needed to know how it all ended, if Lena had survived, or if she'd become the ghost she always felt like. The new countdown ticked in silence, but nothing happened on hour 71, or 48, or 12. Governments scanned every network, prepared for another global data breach, but no new files dropped. The world held its breath as the timer reached its final day. That night, Harris sat alone in his apartment. The rain tapped gently on his window, the city outside washed in blue neon and fog. He poured a cup of coffee, then noticed something strange on his laptop screen. The timer, the one the world had been watching, suddenly vanished, and a message replaced it. Detective Harris, it's time. He froze. Then another line appeared. One last truth. His phone buzzed GPS coordinates. The same hill overlooking the ruins of Westbridge High. He drove through the night, headlights cutting through mist, the memory of Lena's last words echoing in his mind. Part 4 was the awakening. Part 5 is the reckoning. When he reached the hilltop, the storm had passed. The sky glowed faintly with dawn. And there, standing at the edge of the cliff, overlooking the burned remains of the school, was Lena Moore. She looked older, her hair longer, her eyes calmer. The faint silver glint of her locket shimmered in the early light. "Hello, Detective," she said softly. Harris stepped forward slowly, heart pounding. "You're alive. I told you," she said, with a small, tired smile. "Truth doesn't die." He shook his head. "You disappeared. The whole world thought you burned with them," she interrupted gently. "I did, just not the way they think." The wind brushed through the trees as she turned to face the ruins below. "I needed the world to believe I was gone. That was the only way they'd listen to what I left behind." "Then what's this countdown?" Harris asked. "What's phase 2? She closed her eyes for a moment. "Phase 2 isn't destruction. It's rebuilding." He frowned. "Rebuilding what?" She looked back at him, eyes wet, voice steady. "The system. The one they broke. The one we can't trust them to fix." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small flash drive. "These are the names of the people who helped. The students, the teachers, the ones who believed. They're creating something new, a network. Schools run by transparency, funded by truth, where every voice is heard, every wrong is recorded, and every lie leaves a mark." He stared at the drive. "You really think people will change?" She smiled faintly. "People don't change because they're told to. They change because they're forced to see what they've become." Harris sighed, looking at her, this girl who had brought a world to its locked away, unopened. Until one evening, curiosity got the better of him. He inserted it into his laptop, and what he found wasn't files or data. It was a single video. Lena again, recorded long before the fire. She sat in her art classroom, her voice quiet, her eyes full of pain and purpose. "If you're watching this," she said softly, "it means I'm free. Not gone. Just finally free. People will call me a villain. Others will call me a hero. But I don't want to be either. I just want to be a reminder that silence is the loudest cruelty of all." She looked into the lens. "Don't avenge me. Don't worship me. Just listen. That's all I ever wanted." The screen flickered to black. And then her voice one last time. "Truth doesn't destroy. It rebuilds." Months later, as spring bloomed, Detective Harris visited the site where Westbridge once stood. In its place now was a new building, the Lena Moore Academy for Truth and Voice. Children laughed in the courtyard. Teachers listened with empathy, and walls were lined with art murals of black wings soaring across blue skies. He stood there quietly, watching, smiling faintly. As he turned to leave, a girl approached him, young, maybe 15, holding a sketchbook. "Sir," she said shyly, "you were friends with her, right? With Lena?" Harris nodded. "Something like that." The girl smiled and opened her book. Inside was a drawing, two black wings spreading open into sunlight. "She taught us that our voices matter," the girl said, "even when no one's listening." He felt his throat tighten. "Yes," he whispered. especially then. She ran off to join her classmates, laughter echoing through the halls. Harris turned one last time to look at the school at the sign above its doors. Truth is the seed. Silence is the soil. Growth begins when both are broken. He smiled, whispering under his breath, "You did it, Lena." And as the sun rose behind the academy, the faint outline of black wings appeared in the morning sky, not pain, not projected, but formed by the flight of birds drifting through the light. Lena's legacy lived on not in fire, but in freedom, not in fear, but in voices that would never again be silenced.